There's always going to be obstacles, but the more you can normalize that, the more you stop exaggerating the situation. For me personally, I needed a model that looked like me. And once I got that model, then I could be more receptive to a David, because it's all principles at the end of the day. He says, "You want to be a millionaire?" I say, "Yes." He says, "It's easy to become a millionaire." I said, "No, it's not." If that was the case, everybody would be a millionaire. And he says, "No, I'm telling you, it's going to be the easiest thing you've ever done. What's going to be hard is transforming your mind to believe that you can." We know how to get money, but we don't learn about money. That money's a tool and not a toy. There's not a wealth gap, there's an information gap. It's not a lack of money. It was a lack of information. That's just the way of life. And so the more, for me, David, the more we can normalize this. Oh, I love this. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this. This is the perfect podcast to use this example. You're a dentist. I always tell my clients, when you go to the dentist and the dentist is getting ready to work on your mouth, they're getting ready to put that Novocaine in there. But before they put that Novocaine in there, they always tell you, you're going to feel a little pinch. You're going to feel something. They tell you that because they want you to know that pinch, that little prick is normal. So they don't want you to jump out the seat, because if you jump out the seat and that needle goes into your nerve, you're somewhere different, right?
Right.
That's the same thing about life as entrepreneurs, right? There's always going to be obstacles, but the more you can normalize that, the more you stop exaggerating the situation. You know, you deal with properties, I deal with properties. I understand that as good as the property is, there's going to be something, a tenant, a leak in the wall, something. As good as the cash flow is, there's going to be something. I was just doing a property. The cash flow was great, but it was going to impact my taxes because it was going to give me more money. So we got to figure that out, right? There's always going to be something you got to deal with. And so the more we can normalize it, like people, "Oh my God, why is this happening to me?" You drive long enough, you're going to get a flat tire. That's normal. It's a normal part of life. And so for me, the more I begin to normalize all these things that we consider problems and obstacles, the better I was equipped to deal with it. Because I know if I don't have the answer, I know there's somebody who has the answer. I know there's a David out there that's went through a similar situation that I can pick up the phone and say, "Here's the situation I'm having. It was a situation for you before, but you've already solved it. So I just need you to give me the answer."
So much wisdom there. So much wisdom. Well, how many years did you serve in the military? And once you were out of the military, what were your next steps? I kind of want to know a little bit the pathway for our listeners of, how you got into writing books and being inspirational, keynote speaking, consulting, leadership, all the things that you do. How did you move in that direction? What was your guiding force there after military time?
So I go back, I reference the Think and Grow Rich book. So I read the Think and Grow Rich book. Then I read another book, same title, Think and Grow Rich, but it was Think and Grow Rich by Dr. Dennis Kimbro, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And so now I'm reading that book. And so just like Napoleon Hill had all of these amazing entrepreneurs, well, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice had all these amazing African-American entrepreneurs that did some great things that I had never heard of. Then I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Where are these people existing? Because once again, coming from my environment, I knew entertainers, I knew athletes, and I knew gangbangers and drug dealers. Those were the most influential people in my circle. Now you had, Martin Luther King, and you had Malcolm X, and those are just, but I'm talking about day-to-day people you think you can touch and model and become. It was either an athlete, an entertainer, a drug dealer, or a gangbanger, right? I was athletic, but I wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't an entertainer. Being a gangbanger and being a drug dealer, that was going to be short-lived. I read this book by a gentleman by the name of Reginald F. Lewis. The title is, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And Reginald F. Lewis was the first African-American businessman to purchase a billion-dollar company. He was a lawyer who got into leverage buyouts, and he ended up buying this billion-dollar company. I was so fascinated by him. So while I'm in the military, I'm reading about this guy. Now, David, I now have a model. I have an individual that looks like me, that came from similar circumstances as me. So now I have a model. I say, wait a minute, I don't have to be an athlete. I don't have to be an entertainer. I can use my brain. I can use my mind. I can build a business and still have the same stuff that entertainers have, that athletes have. And for me, what it did was it broke every mental barrier, right? I could see a David Phelps and I could see that he's successful, but as an African-American man, I could use that as an excuse. Well, David's white, he's in America. So for me personally, I needed a model that looked like me. And once I got that model, then I could be more receptive to a David, because it's all principles at the end of the day.
Yes.
So when I'm in the military, I'm getting all this type of information. So you can imagine it's totally different than what the military is teaching. It's, so I'm on one. I'm totally sold on personal development. I'm trying to teach it to, I'm trying to be an evangelist about personal development. So I come to the time where it's time for me to re-enlist. And this is exactly what I did, David. I've read Think and Grow Rich. I now understand that the sky is not the limit. I can create my own future. I sat down and I said, okay, Will, you're at 5 years. It would take you 15 more years to retire. In retirement, you would retire at 40 years old. You live another 40 years. They'll pay you retirement another 40 years. So now we're looking at 55 years. We're looking at 55 years. You're going to get paid for 15 more years. You're going to get paid for another 40 years into retirement. I did all the math and I said, this is what I would end up getting in 55 years. The number came out to $2.7 million. I looked at if I maxed out my military salary for the next 15 years, and then they gave me for 40 years, they cut that in half, that would be my retirement. In 55 years, I would have earned $2.7 million. I said to myself, do you think you can earn $2.7 million in less than 55 years? Do you think you can do it in less than 15 years? And that was the caveat. I said, the only way you win this game is you got to do it in less than 15 years. I thought about it. I said, I could do it in less than 15 years. So I made the choice to get out the military. Everybody thought I was crazy. All of my supervisors, everybody, wait a minute, wait, you're fast tracking, you're doing well. This is a guaranteed paycheck. This is a guaranteed paycheck. Right. But then I heard someone say, there's 365 days in a year, and most people settle to only get paid 12 days a year. There's 365 days, and most people settle to only get paid 12 of those days, to get a paycheck, one paycheck a month. I said, that's not a good deal.
Right.
365 days.
Right.
I want to at least get paid 200 days, 250 days, right? And so I got another great mentor came into my life, and he talked to me about real estate. And when he talked to me about real estate, he introduced to me, David, 2 words that began to further transform my mind. Those 2 words were net worth and cash flow. Net worth and cash flow. At that time, my language around money was paycheck. That was the only word I knew about money. Paycheck, save, checking account. That was it, right? In the military, we had a 401k program, but to that extent, I knew nothing. And we sat down and he gave me a blueprint. When he talked to me about net worth, he says, you want to be a millionaire? I said, yes. He says, it's easy to become a millionaire. I said, no, it's not. If that was the case, everybody would be a millionaire. And he says, no, I'm telling you, it's going to be the easiest thing you've ever done. What's going to be hard is transforming your mind to believe that you can. And here's the blueprint that he gave me. He says, you need to purchase 10 houses. They need to be anywhere between $60,000, $70,000. And you need to purchase 10 of them. Now, I'm from California. You know what prices look like in California.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back in the 90s. They were still, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm like, most people can't even get one house, and you're telling me to get 10 of them. And in my mind, houses in California at that time, $300, $400,
yes.
right? And I'm like, well, where are you getting $60,000 houses at? That wasn't even a concept for me. I'm like, you must be talking about a shoebox, because in California, that's all you're getting. That's all right. You're getting the garage. You're not even getting a full house, right? And he starts telling me about places like Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and Killeen, Texas, all these places around military bases, right? $70,000. But in my mind still, I'm like, these must just be, I mean, shoeboxes. So he shows me these houses, double wide trailers I didn't know existed. Once again, mindset. In my mind, a trailer was a trailer.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? You bought you a double wide trailer. And he was excited about it. And I'm like, you're excited about a double wide trailer? I mean, you really are country, right? Like, you're excited about a double wide. And he began to show me these pictures. I'm like, wait, no, that's a house. He's like, yes, is that, what did you think? I'm like, a trailer. You said a double wide trailer. So he says, if you get you 10 of these, he says, in 5 years, they'll appreciate to 100K. When they appreciate to 100K, you have 10 of them, you now have a net worth of $1 million. You go into the bank with a net worth of $1 million, you can get anything you want in the world. You go into the bank with a net worth of $1 million. He said, now you have cash flow. You have cash flow coming. And at that time, David, you know, it's maybe $300, $400, not major money, but compound interest, all this stuff that I did not know about. But he's like, you have 10 of these at $300, $400. That's $3,000 that you're just putting in the bank. That would be $36,000 that you'd have at the end of the year. That's more than you make right now. I'm like, you're right. And so between real estate and personal development, I knew going out the military, I said, well, I want to do this personal development thing. Now, at the time, I didn't know anything about this being an arena. Like, I knew about Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, and Tony Robbins, but I just thought, you know, they got hit with the fairy dust and that's what they got to do. I didn't know this was an industry. Like, you could really wake up and say, like David said, I want to be a dentist, that Will could say, I want to be a professional speaker. I didn't know it existed.
Well, like you thought these people just got anointed somehow, right?
I thought like a pastor or something, like they got anointed, and those 10 people got to, because, you know, I didn't know about National Speakers Association. I didn't know about Toastmasters. I didn't know about any of this stuff. I didn't know that you could just say, hey, I want to go be a speaker. And so I get out the military. I'm doing real estate. I initially, when I got out, I worked for a bank. And so now I'm learning about banking. I'm learning about interest. That was a whole world by itself. I'm learning when it says daily accrued interest, what that means. And then I started learning about money. We know how to get money, but we don't learn about money. That money's a tool and not a toy. Right. And so when I worked at the bank, I'll tell you the story. I'll never forget, a guy comes in. And this young guy in the military, and he would come in about once or twice a month, and he would make a payment on his car. He had bought a car and he'd make a payment on his car. Now, in his mind, he's keeping track. He has this little notebook, and he said, I paid $200, I paid $300. So in his mind, that's $500. He comes in, and I'll never forget the day that he came in his mind, he thought he had paid the car off. He found out that day about daily incurred interest. And so his payment, I'll never forget this, his payment was due on the 3rd, but he would come in like on the 18th or on the 20th and make a payment. Well, all of that was what? Interest. And I'll never forget.
Stacking interest, so he was never paying down on the principal.
He was never paying the principal. And I'll never forget. Because he came to my desk and we're talking, and congratulations, he's showing me his little notebook, right? He's like, I made all my payments. He was so excited. And I'll never forget my manager coming by and showing him all the dates that he made payments, the 15th, the 18th, the 21st, the 22nd, right? And just a simple shift in information, if you would have came in on the day that it was due,
would have changed
all
everything.
all of that would have went to the principal.
Yeah.
Only the little portion would have went to interest, and you would have been paying that information that day. That day, I said this to myself: there's not a wealth gap, there's an information gap. There's not a wealth gap, there's an information gap. See, there's abundance of money for all of us to be millionaires. So there's not a lack of money. See, if there was money, there would be an issue, there would be a problem. Right? There's not a lack of money. If David does something to earn $1 billion, the world would give it to him. If I do something to earn $1 billion, the world will give it to me. It's not a lack of money. It was a lack of information. And that day I looked, I was so upset. I was so upset because no one stopped this gentleman. No one said to him, hey, if you just hold this money and pay it when it's due. And to the teller, she probably didn't know. Hey, you want to make your payment? Make your payment. She just took the money and the computer did the rest, right? The computer did the rest. But this gentleman, because he didn't have information, and I'll never forget, he felt so done wrong, right? He felt as though the world had slapped him in the face. For me, I didn't get upset. I just said, oh, it's information. Whenever you do something, make sure you have all the information.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that young man felt. I mean, it would be so demoralizing. I think, in the story you've told about your life and having mentors at the right place at the right time. Of course, you were seeking them out. You were open. You didn't just push them aside, but the right people saw you and saw how much potential you had. You just needed direction. This young man, we don't know the story, but hopefully he didn't just let life continue to take him, but he hopefully used the lesson and thought, well, just like you did, well, wait a minute, this didn't work out how I thought, but to your point, I'm missing some information. I'm missing some application here. Maybe there's someone who could teach me or show me books or show me a pathway so I can learn these lessons, because obviously there's something that I didn't understand, right?
That's absolutely right. And I've taken that lesson with me all of my life. Whenever I get ready to do something, I ask myself, Will, do you have all the information you need? Do you have all the information you need? Do you need to have some more conversations? Do you need to talk to some different people? And it has served me so much, just understanding that whatever you want to do, it's just information. You want to, you can go to the gym. I see people go to the gym and after a month or so, they're not getting the results that they want. And it's because they're missing information. So they now get an expert, they get a trainer, and they explain to the trainer, well, I've been doing this. And the trainer says, oh, you thought you were working on this part of your body, but you were actually doing this. We can do certain movements and we're thinking we're working this muscle, but that movement is working your backside. Yep. And so information, and this is in every area of our lives. And so I've just taken that wisdom. Whatever I want to do, I always go and seek out an expert so I can make sure I have the right information.
Yeah. You are a wealth of information and a wealth of inspiration, Will. And I just want people to know how they can continue to connect with you, to follow you, to pick up the breadcrumbs that you are leaving intentionally for people who are willing to pick them up. Where can people go to find you? Best places. Website is drwillspeaks.com. All social media at Dr. Will Speaks. So Dr. Will Speaks, DrWillSpeaks on all social media platforms. And David, before we finish up, please, I see the book back there, Own Your Freedom. I got my copy. I've read it. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal book. And that's the difference maker that we see in all successful people, is that they've taken 100% responsibility to own their results. When you take 100% responsibility to own your results, and I have to say this, we live in, I know you have listeners from all around the world, but especially those of us that live in the United States. I believe we live in the best country in the world. When we talk about affording you, when you talk about a kid that didn't start on the wrong side,
but inside this system that is afforded to us, was able to correct his path and live out the dream that America offers. There's no better place. And but it takes 100% responsibility. We can all sit around and point the finger at everybody, but one of the best lessons I learned in Compton from my grandmother, she said, Will, when you point your finger at someone, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you, meaning the bulk of the responsibility is on you. So no matter what anybody does, the bulk of the responsibility is on you, on how you respond to whatever happens to you in life.
Well, I think I'm just going to drop the mic right there, sir. You speak again with wisdom, clarity, and focus. And I also just don't want to lose the opportunity to thank you and your daughter now, who is serving, because having the freedoms and the opportunities we have in this country is because we have people who have served and continue to serve in our armed forces and provide the protection that we get to still keep the opportunities that we have today. And that doesn't go without the people who do that service. So thank you so much.
Thank you once again for having me, my friend. Always good to see you.
We'll talk again soon. If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.